What's up, you guys? Does capitalism get you down?
Does the constant pressure to be productive get to you?
Are you tired of being a cog in the machine?
Then we invite you to be part of the revolution against toxic productivity by embracing the useless things.
Welcome to episode 38 of the Very Unimportant People podcast.
Do less.
I'm your host, Lidia, and this week, my car was towed, and it was really sad, and I had to pay a lot of money to get it out of the lot.
And my name's Courtney, and this week I bought into capitalism, and I bought myself a $400 desk to make me more productive.
Ooh, wow. Damn, that's a crazy shit. That standing desk?
Yeah, it's a standing desk. I'm a little ashamed at myself that I spent so much money literally to make myself more productive, but
oh, you know what? It's for health benefits too. It's not only for the benefit of capitalism. It's for the benefit of yourself.
It's for my enjoyment. Like, I spend at least 12 hours a day in front of a computer at this point, like working and doing school. So I was getting so many headaches and stuff from being like crunched over in front of my computer. So I was like, at least this way I can like stand up, I can move around, I do a little dancing when I'm listening to music.
Oh, that sounds like fun. Yeah, exactly. You're doing it for yourself, not for capitalism.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for validating me.
Dude, you're welcome. I've been thinking about getting a standing desk too, but it's just like, I just don't know if I can pull trigger on the price. It's just so expensive.
Dude, I've been thinking about it for a year.
Oh,
that's how long
really?
I've been considering it.
Okay. And you were like, well, if it's been a year, I'm committed to the idea. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's time to actually, commit and get the standing desk. You
just gotta mull it over.
I understand. Yeah, I need a couple more months of mulling because I have a nice desk here, so I'm like, I don't know if I should like get rid of it. I don't know, whatever.
Anyways, tell us about your thing. It's a lot more exciting.
Guys, I'm so upset that my car was freaking towed. Honestly, it's so upsetting because a couple of weeks ago on our podcast, I had an entire 20-minute rant about how much I hate parking tickets and how much I hate that we have to pay for parking and we have to just pay to exist and to be in the world already on top of paying for a car and then to not be able to do anything with the car. It's just annoying, right? It's just stupid.
It's kind of ironic.
So ironic. I mean, it's just like the parking gods were like, this is the final strike. And I'm like, all right, I give up. You win, capitalism. You win, parking. It's over for me. It's over for me. Like, I paid almost $300 to get the car out of the lot, and I got a parking ticket on top of all that.
You could have gotten a standing desk.
I know. Oh my God, that's such a good point. Wow.
And it's funny because, like, in the episode, I talked about my fear of getting my car towed, and you're like, nah, I'm pretty sure they don't do that often. Like, I'm pretty sure that doesn't really happen. And
it was it does happen. It sure does. It does happen.
I'm so sorry.
It was so stupid. Oh my God. So annoying. It was so upsetting. Yeah, it's okay. It happens. I wouldn't say I've learned my lesson. I would say I have been defeated because I have been putting up the good fight against parking for a really long time. But now I submit to the lords.
You know what? This week it's like capitalism to us 0. You know, it was just one of those weeks.
Pretty much.
We'll try again next week. This week wasn't the week.
Next week we won't be cogs in the machines. And, it's okay. We're still doing our part in being not productive by doing the podcast. So we're good.
True. Brownie points every week.
Yeah, exactly. We take a moment and we just do something that makes us happy, you know? Yeah. Okay, guys, this is the part of the podcast where we talk about the poll from last week. And if you remember, last week we talked about some conspiracy theories of the royal family. And we talked about pandemic and things in the past that we might like to keep from the pandemic. That have been kept from previous tragedies. So Courtney's going to kick us off.
All right. So the first question is, do you believe Beyonce and Kate? You spelled Kate wrong.
I spelled it Sate. I'm not sure why.
All right. Do you believe Beyonce and Kate, the Duchess of Cambridge, have beef? And 64% of you said no. 36
logical.
said yes. Logical. Yeah.
That is logical.
It's a completely bullshit conspiracy theory, guys. It's okay. 2 people can do the same thing on one day.
Yeah.
There's not that many days of the year.
No one's stealing any spotlight for Buddy Buddy. It's totally fine. The next question was, would you like it if stickers telling you where the line is in stores stayed post-pandemic? 79% of you said yes. Oh my god. Wow,
yes.
That's so cool.
I agree with you.
You guys, you agree with me.
Love it.
That's so sweet. I love the support.
All right, the next one. Do you think Prince Charles is a vampire? 94% of you said yes.
That's crazy.
I love that. I love it so much. People don't give a shit about Prince Charles.
They're like, he must
Fuck you,
be a
old
vampire.
man.
There's no way.
It's like, oh. All right.
The next question is, should we normalize wearing masks when you're sick post-pandemic? 90% of you said yes.
That's cool. Good. That's like a very good, responsible response.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's like you want to protect other people.
We love it.
I love that.
We love to hear it.
Let's go.
All right. And there was a bonus question in here.
Go for it.
That said, oops, it was a simple case of, and this was a fill in the blank, and the options were misogyny and chlamydia. And 64% of you said misogyny, which is good. 36% of you, maybe you should go see a doctor. I don't know.
Oops, simply a case of chlamydia.
Oops.
Yeah, that sucks. I'm glad 64% of you said misogyny. It means you saw the post.
Thanks, guys. Thank
you so much for participating. We really appreciate it, and make sure you tune into our Instagram at very.unimportant.people and take a look-see to see if the poll is up. If not, check back on Tuesday/Wednesday and participate. We love to hear from you. And enjoy the rest of the podcast. So this week, guys, I'm going first, and I'm going to talk to you guys about something kind of scientific and kind of also very interesting. It's this theory called panspermia.
Panspermia.
Coming from the word pan and sperm and ia. So
it sounds like an attraction at like Disney World.
Panspermia. Thank you. Panspermia. Yeah, it does kind of sound like a weird like world to exist in or something like that. But yeah, I don't know. Last week I just kind of like fell down this little scientifical Wikipedia hole. And so I'm going to take you on an astrobiological journey today.
Wow.
And even though I only really understand, okay, astrobiology is the study of like where life came from and like the universe and like all these questions that people have about like how life exists and stuff like that. It's an entire field in like NASA, which I had no idea. They are actually funding some research about panspermia, which I find extremely interesting because most scientists believe this is a pseudo theory and they dismiss it almost immediately.
Oh, really?
As not being true. Yeah. Yeah. And they like don't think that it's possible. Okay, so let me tell you quickly about what the theory is before I get into this. So the theory was kind of developed throughout the late 1800s. It was worked on by several researchers. And most recently in the 1970s, these people, Fred Hoyle and Chandra Wickramasinghe, hypothesized that space dust is organic and it can travel to Earth or to any other planet and pretty much like either wreak havoc upon it or create life. Yeah, so so one of the examples of how it would wreak havoc is that like this space dust, which is kind of like unknown molecules, unknown living organisms to Earth right now, like we've never experienced them or anything like that. They theorize that diseases and outbreaks are actually caused by these new organisms coming to Earth and just kind of like fucking our shit up because we have no idea how to handle it. And yeah. And the other half of the theory is called interplanetary life transfer. So basically it means that like small bacteria and small living things are being transferred through space onto other planets and then like sparking life there. And in support of this theory, in 2016, this guy, Jiangwen Ku of the Department of Infectious Diseases Control in China, presented a statistical study, so you know it's legit, that suggests
just because it's
that
statistics doesn't mean it's legit.
Yeah, okay. We'll go with it. He suggested that the extremes of sunspot activity within plus or minus 1 year may actually precipitate influenza pandemics. And he talked about how his research about like sunspots and about like solar flares and stuff like that could help with early detection of any type of like disease that might come to our planet, because it like fucks up something in the solar system. Whoa. And then moves molecules in a way that they aren't supposed to be moved or something like that, and then moves the living organisms onto our planet. That was his statistical kind of like support of this entire thing. So yeah, panspermia has been completely rejected by the scientific community. Most of it,
not
like,
us.
Some of it loves it. No, not us.
So not the whole scientific community.
Yeah, just some of it. They believe it's a pseudoscience, and they believe that no living organism can survive in space. This is a completely fair assumption because it's even humans can't survive in space, obviously. Like we immediately just get like whooped into like nothing. And surviving in space is one thing, and then entering the atmosphere is another thing. Living in space for 1 billion years, being subjected to intense UV rays, scary temperatures, and the overall space vacuum are a couple of reasons why they don't think that space dust is organic and alive. And this is mainly based on the fact that like organic life is needs the sun to survive, but like needs to be like kind of safe from the sun still. Like the UV rays are like too much in space. So
but
yeah, it's
kind
of
like,
like
possible that like other life could survive in space, just not like human life?
Yes. And this is what takes me to the next part. These things called, I know, you so smart, Courtney. So this brings us to actually our first really important piece of evidence, which is extremophiles. And these organisms are surviving in extreme conditions on Earth, and they are thriving in places that normally wouldn't be possible for a carbon-based life form. The classic example of this one, I don't know if you guys did like grade 11 biology, but I was personally obsessed with this in grade 11 biology, the water bear or the moss piglet. Yeah.
The only reason I remember the water bear is because of Lidia. I think that's the only like time I ever heard about the water bear is from you.
No way. Yeah. That's crazy that's coming back right now. Like that's kind of insane. So yeah, I guess I was the only one obsessed with the water bear, not everyone like I had suggested. So this is also called the tardigrades, which is so cute because like in high school you're like, oh, you're tardy, and like your grades are tardy, so the tardigrades. So cute, and it's so freaking cute, and it's like 0.5 millimeters big, and it's also called the slow mover.
Slow mover is like a sloth.
Yeah, if you guys want, you should look up a picture of the water bears because they're a little weird looking, but they're also super cute. And I think there's a bunch of like memes about how cute they are and like how crazy they are. So they can survive in up to or down to negative 272 degrees Celsius, and they can also survive up to 150 degrees Celsius. Now listen, I can barely survive 40-degree weather, so I can't fucking believe that this shit be living in 150 degrees Celsius.
Wow.
And they did experiments on the water bear and found out that it can survive in the vacuum of space and at really intense like altitudes and stuff like that. Yeah, right? Crazy. This thing is super resilient. Scientists believe it has also survived mass extinctions and planetary changes, but it just continues to vibe. Like it might be one of the oldest living kind of dudes.
Out. He's like, where did everyone go?
Yeah. Why is it so cold? And then like 1,000 years later, it's like, why is it so hot? So yeah, as cool as the water bear is, it still kind of needs like the sun to survive, and just like any other life, we thought up until the 1970s.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And they discovered that there are these other extremophiles which live next to volcanoes deep in the ocean where no light reaches. And normally if animals live that deep in the ocean, they still like need light, and they kind of just get it from other animals who actually have light, and they eat that animal, and that's how they get like their source of light or whatever. But these discovered microorganisms feed off of water and an energy gradient in order to exist.
The vibes.
So the energy it literally just vibes. Like, it just lives in the freezing ass cold water next to this volcano, And the volcano, it produces a bunch of different, like there's different ones. There's like, they're called like a black smoker and a white smoker.
Ooh, racist.
And yeah, super vibey, right? And one of them, I don't remember which one it was. I didn't write all this stuff down, but one of them just like releases a shit ton of sulfur. And these microorganisms live off of sulfur. They eat sulfur. There's other microorganisms in the Arctic which eat rock. Like they just survive off of rocks. I don't understand. So these things exist,
wait,
like,
where? In Antarctica?
oh, sorry, yeah, in Antarctica, yeah.
Are there a lot of rocks in Antarctica? Isn't it like snowy?
Yeah, it's snowy for sure, but it's they have like a big kind of like ice island, and like on the ice island it was also like some rock. I believe, because there's also like a lake or something that it was like, because it used to be inhabitable. I think, I'm not 100% sure about Antarctica. It's quite confusing. But Antarctica like is used as a simulation for Mars travel because it's such an extreme conditions to live in. And they found living organisms in Antarctica, like literally like a millimeter beneath the surface of the ice or the rock, whatever it is, that they found living kind of things in Antarctica. And so this is evidence for another branch of panspermia called lithopanspermia. This is one of my favorite branches of panspermia, I think, because it's just kind of fun and cute and like pretty well thought out, to be honest. So over the past 40 years, scientists have been doing research on like bacteria and microorganisms to see if they can survive in space. They have been placing bacteria on the outside of the International Space Station to see how it does. I know. Courtney.
Poor little guy.
Are you feeling bad for the bacteria?
Yeah. That's so mean.
It is kind of mean. They're bullying the bacteria,
I know. They're like,
organisms.
we're just going to see if you survive.
Yeah, good luck,
99% chance you don't, but... Good luck out there.
Well, they've been doing okay. I mean, they've been doing all right. Some types of cells can survive for like 3 years. Some survive for like 8 years. And then they found that many survive better if they are covered in like clay or rock or something like that. The bacteria that lived on the outside of the International Space Station, it did okay, but they said that it only survived because there was a layer of dead cells on the outside protecting the living stuff underneath.
Like a shield.
Yeah, like a shield from like the UV and the gravity, and like, yeah, still a win in my books personally. Yeah. Go panspermia. So the panspermia like entire thing is that it is space dust, which means there's like low protection from space. So I think that's kind of why they also branched out to lithopanspermia, because it's the theory that organisms survived inside of meteorites and inside of space rocks for millions of years before being deposited on Earth and before like depositing life on Earth. They love using that word, like that the meteorites and like the comets like came down and then just like bloop bloop and deposited life. So 3 things need to be studied for lithopanspermia to exist. And that is the organism's ability to survive planetary ejection, because obviously the organisms had to come from somewhere.
Okay.
And then they need to survive in space. And then they need to re-enter the atmosphere. And then there is a secret 4th stage, which is actually being able to survive on the new planet.
Okay, I think the better question here is not can Earth things survive in space, but it's can space things survive on Earth.
Yeah, exactly. And that was the question they asked last. That was their secret 4th stage, which is like, can the space thing actually live on Earth? Like, it's cool that it entered Earth, but now it's like, it's
because if it was like made on a different planet or made in space, like, yeah, it's going to survive in space. That makes sense. I don't get why we're testing to see if Earth things can survive out there, because I'm sure they've like evolved since they've been here, you know?
Yeah.
So maybe they can't do that anymore, but maybe they could. I think we're asking the wrong questions. I think we're coming from the wrong angle here. By putting our things out there, we need those things in here.
Yeah, we do need those things from here. And like, it's so
I don't know how to
annoying
find those things, but
well, they took some samples from Mars. We talked about this in like one of our earlier episodes, that they took the samples from Mars, but they're leaving them there. They're just leaving
What's
them
the
there
point, guys?
until like 2030 when they're like, then humans will be able to go and pick them up. Like,
Why can't humans just go and pick them up when they get there? Why did we need to send a robot out?
yeah,
I don't get it. That's stupid. A waste of money, energy. Poor little robot died out there.
Oh God, opportunity. My battery is low and it's getting dark, honestly, forever in my heart. Opportunity. So anyways, the organisms in the Antarctic are used as evidence for lithopanspermia. Since the extremophiles found deep in the frozen lakes and even like 2 centimeters from the surface, which is kind of probably the toughest place to survive because of the wind and the sun and the darkness and the cold. And then if you're like buried deep inside of Antarctica, maybe you're a little bit more protective, but they have found living things in these extreme places. And they have also found that these things can go dormant and survive for up to 1 million years, estimating. Which is sick. And I think that kind of explains a
That's
lot.
okay.
I mean,
That's what I wish humans could do. Go dormant.
go dormant?
Yeah, not die. I don't want to die. I just want to go dormant for a little bit.
Yeah, that would be so nice. Oh my God. I think we talked about this before, and someone on our TikTok was like, so a coma?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, interesting. Just a little reset.
Yeah.
Another angle of lithopanspermia is coming from spores, and spores are produced as a part of like a plant's natural life cycle, and scientists have found that the cells that the spores are produced from can remain dormant, and then they wait until favorable conditions are restored, and then they'll continue to create spores. So this means that it's totally possible that spores survived in the 3rd and secret 4th stage of lithopanspermia.
Okay, how is it a secret 4th stage? What makes it secret? Because you found it on the internet, so I'm trying to figure out how
that's
it's
true.
secret.
I just kind of called it the secret 4th stage. So it was basically the 3 stages that lithopanspermia is like really like, these are the 3 stages it needs to survive. And then one of the arguments against lithopanspermia is actually the 4th stage, which is the possibility of survival on a new world.
Oh, okay.
So people are like, you're fucked. Like, that's not the only thing you need to consider. Like, you also need to consider like if it will be able to live on the new world, and they think that like the chances of that are pretty low. I think they're moderate. Because if you survive in such like extreme conditions, then maybe you would be able to survive in lesser extreme conditions, although maybe it's extreme for them because they've never experienced it, you know?
Yeah.
I'm not totally sure. So it's totally possible that these spores waited until Earth was like cold enough to be inhabitable, and then they started producing spores, which like led to life on Earth. Pretty cool. Also, a piece of really fucking solid evidence is that in 2015, remains of biotic material were found, and they were 4.1 billion year old rocks in Australia.
Wow.
But the Earth is 400 million years old. So the proof is that the 4 stages is possible for simple organisms, I guess, because rocks are simple organisms. But it's cool that it's like this whole like rock formation comes from space. It kind of does back up the theory a little tiny little bit. And there's this other branch of panspermia, which is galactic panspermia. I know. And Harvard astronomers suggest that matter and potentially these like dormant spores can be exchanged across vast distances between galaxies, and they're not restricted to our solar system. And they kind of have this like piece of evidence that came through kind of recently. I believe it was in 2017. It was called Oumuamua, and it's this huge freaking rock. It was like a comet or like a space rock or something like that, and it entered our solar system, and people like, it was just a space rock for us, but for NASA it was important evidence that interstellar objects can make their way to Earth and can like actually, you know, kind of like interact with us. I think it kind of supports the branch of panspermia, which is that like maybe something collided into Earth and then kind of shattered a little and then freed the microbes onto the planet, or deposited them, as they like to say. Yeah, so that's kind of a little bit summary of panspermia for you. And now you may be wondering, where are these organisms coming from? Where are these living things coming from? You know, if there was no life on Earth, if there was no life anywhere else, who is doing the depositing, if you will? So the fringe theory here is that living organisms were planted into meteorites and comets by extraterrestrial beings. I kind of love this.
I love it, but I also see where the pseudoscience comes into it now.
This is definitely the pseudoscience part. Yeah, this is like the fringe part where they're like, it was obviously extraterrestrial beings that brought life to Earth. How else would we? Like, I kind of understand if it could be like a little scientific thing and it's like, oh, there's living things inside of rocks. Like, that's cool. Or maybe one of my like kind of guesses to this theory is that the extraterrestrials were living on their planet and then maybe something exploded, something happened to the planet, and then all the pieces like kind of just got like shattered and then just like started flying around and like
what if they really deposited like on a bunch of different planets? Like what if it just flew in like different galaxies and there's like other Earths out there like us? Yeah, there's other like totally there's two other girls she's making a podcast about like
that's so cute. Yeah, about their own theory of panspermia. Yeah, and they're like,
I wonder if there's other Earths out there. There are. We're here.
I think there is. I think there honestly might be. That's like a whole thing. A lot of scientists are like, no, life on Earth is so unique and like so specific and so special, and there's just no way it could be replicated anywhere else because this is
humans
the
just
ideal
think
conditions.
They're the shit, man.
I know, and they're like, if anything was even a little bit different, life would not be possible. And they're just really, really attached.
Possible. Humans are just weak. Like that's all you're saying. We can only survive in this. But like maybe there's other things that can survive different things.
Exactly. If there are extremophiles, then there is a huge possibility. And they're a carbon-based living thing, just like us. Yeah. And if they exist, then it's completely possible that like life on other planets exists. Like 100%. Yeah, and then the other kind of part of the fringe theory is that the extraterrestrials actually like did the depositing and maybe they knew, this is kind of my interpretation of it, that maybe they knew that their planet was coming to an end or something like that, and they, like us, so desperately want to live on and like so desperately, you know, because like we're putting shit on Mars. Like, why are you so desperate to survive? But maybe these extraterrestrials were also desperate to keep life going in a certain way, and they like put shit out into the world not knowing what was going to happen and not knowing if it was going to result in anything. But does that mean
this whole Earth was built from the Jeff Bezos of another planet?
Oh my god. That's
because like we are trying to do that, but like it's just kind of like the rich people that are trying to do that right now.
Oh my god, right? The Jeff Bezos of the extraterrestrials was successful.
We are all descendants of Jeff Bezos,
of alien Bezos.
Oh no,
good Jesus Christ! Oh my fucking god, there is nothing to be thankful for. Nightmare. Not even life. It comes from extraterrestrial capitalism. Fuck, man. There's literally no winning. Oh, God. Okay. So a couple of last little finishing points here. Something I found which was interesting is pseudo-panspermia, which I don't really understand this name, pseudo-panspermia, because it was created by NASA scientists, and these scientists reported that complex DNA and RNA, which are the organic compounds of life, include these things. I'll read them to you if you know what they are. Uracil, cytosine, and thymine. And they have been formed in a laboratory under outer space conditions using chemicals like that are found in meteorites. And these chemicals are found in like red giants and interstellar dust and gas clouds and stuff like that, according to the scientists. So my interpretation of this is that they believe that like we were like DNA and RNA was created in a lab in space in outer space conditions because there was none of this like DNA and RNA compounds on Earth, and they came from somewhere else. It's a thinker.
It is.
It's a thinker for sure. I know. Sometimes I don't understand what NASA is saying. They're like, this amazing discovery. I'm like, I don't care. Yeah, so Earth might have been seeded is the word that we are going with. Ooh. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird, but also the word sperm is in panspermia.
Yeah, that's true. That's fair.
And yeah, people think that Mars at the time when the Martians like were seeding the planet, that Mars might have been more habitable than Earth. So there could be evidence on Mars that DNA and RNA were like created there. And NASA is actually funding a project right now that will create a machine which will look for primitive RNA and DNA. And it's called the Search for Extraterrestrial Genomes. That's happening right now, guys. That's like, cool. As much as this is a pseudo thing, it's being deeply investigated by NASA. Like, what? This is a legit theory. Like, as people are like, I'm dismissing it. This is real. People are putting in research and effort, and they are putting molecules into space, and they're trying to see if they're going to survive or not, and they're putting them into, like, rocks and shit. Like, yeah, I'm a supporter of panspermia. I think it's pretty cool. And, like...
I just love the name.
I know. It's fun. Yeah, life is just so random, and I just like it's interesting to hear that it might not be random at all, and maybe aliens planted us here, or maybe they didn't know that they were planting us here. They didn't even know what they were doing. Their Earth was like their Earth, whatever, wherever they lived was like exploded or something. It was just a random mission, and it resulted in us. I mean, I wonder if the Martians are even still alive, and if they're out here. They have no idea we exist or not.
Oh.
But yeah, it's just kind of cool that we might have all come from just little tough microorganisms tucked away in a rock.
We are the aliens.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we are the aliens. Big time. And yeah, that brings us to the end of our little panspermia talk. I hope you guys enjoyed it.
I have an alternate theory, okay?
Yeah.
Walk with me here in my little... So, okay. What's that movie where they all live on a speck of dust? Is that Horton Hears a Who?
Yeah.
Okay, so Horton Hears a Who style, the space dust is actually just giant sneezes, okay? Because that's what it sounds like to me. Because sneezes are like, because, you know, in COVID times, we all know we got to be scared of the sneezes because they land on you, and then those little living viruses and stuff like that, you know, like take over and make you sick. We are a sneeze. We are a virus, per se.
Whoa.
We were
sneezed we totally
here.
Could be. Yeah. Yeah.
We live on just
by
a
the
little
Martians.
speck. We're sneezed.
And then we
within our sneezes,
humans or something like that.
We're creating little
There's
galaxies.
Little planets. So cute. I love it.
That's my
those are the things you got to look out for. I mean, yeah, every time you sneeze outside, like, who knows what's going to happen to that living microorganism? Maybe in 1,000 years, it's going to get sent off into space and it's going to survive. Oh, imagine, like, COVID-19 is the only thing that survives from the planet. They're like, oh, we have this. They're like, oh, how interesting. A living organism.
Do they believe that COVID-19 came from space? Because you were saying that, like, some diseases and pandemics come from space. Like, that was the first theory.
They haven't updated that part of the site yet. However, I did look into solar flares and solar activity kind of like before the COVID thing. And the most recent, like, intense solar flare was in 2017. And then there was also a lot of solar activity in 2020, in November of 2020, which is
after
late. Yeah. So
yeah, COVID kind of disproved their theory there.
I know, right? There's always solar activity going on, though. Yeah. So it's a possibility. It was a statistical, you know, it was a statistical thing. I guess you're right. Everything in statistics isn't legit.
Well, thank you very much. That was interesting. That was
no problem. I hope you guys liked it. I hope it wasn't super dry, you guys. Like, I thought it was like super cool. So I hope you guys enjoyed
I loved it.
Science.
It's so interesting hearing about like alternate theories of like where we came from and like Earth and
Yeah.
how obsessed with ourselves humans are. They're like, no other life could be this advanced. No, calm down.
I know, dude.
Down. We created capitalism. Yeah. We convinced ourselves to work in lives that we hate, even though we have the capacities to enjoy our lives. Like, we're not that smart. No. We really aren't. Anyways.
I read something the other day that was like, the public, you know, what we believe as like a public is a collective. It doesn't exist. And it's just an idea. And like the public isn't real, and it actually stops any type of real action. And like this philosopher was like talking about how much we like to talk about what we're gonna do, and then we like to talk our way through problems, but no action, and like nothing ever actually happens.
Yeah,
I was like,
it's not wrong.
Shit. Yeah,
it's not wrong.
Right. I was like, oh, I guess you got a point there.
Humans ain't that smart. We
dumb.
Dum-dum. No think.
Water bear. You're so cute. Little water bear.
All right, guys, welcome to the second half of the podcast, where I'm gonna talk about my theory, but it actually has kind of some connections to Lydia's half of the podcast, just a little bit.
Nice.
The space makes a little bit of a comeback, but
I love it when we're like on the same vibe,
just the same level, same level.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about the conspiracy theory that lizard people in suits are ruling the country. Or the world. It kind of expands to the world, but this is actually a largely held conspiracy theory in America. And it's America. That lizard people, they are cold-blooded humanoid reptilians that have the power to shapeshift into human form.
Yes, I have heard.
And that these creatures are actually many of the world leaders today. And they are working towards world domination. I don't know what the goal is once they achieve that. I don't know what they're going to do. But the theory is that they're lizard people ruling a country. And so apparently these creatures have been with us throughout human history. They've had their claws on humankind since ancient time, as the website that I read put it. And leaders like Queen Elizabeth I, George Bush, and the Clintons are all theorized to be lizard people.
Okay. All of the Clintons are lizard people?
All of the Clintons, yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, Oh, and the current Queen Elizabeth is also a lizard person. And this theory's been going on for like it's not a new conspiracy theory. Like David Icke, he calls himself a modern philosopher. He's the most prominent figure in this conspiracy, and he actually wrote a book about it in 1999.
Wow.
Called The Biggest Secret. So it's been going on for a real long time.
That's like early ages of the internet too.
Yeah.
Like there wasn't the internet to like spread a lot of like conspiracies. Like this guy must have really freaking believed it. Okay, I'm in. I'm in.
All right. So, and one of the top lizard person journalists in the field made a guide to help identify lizards, in case you're wondering. Whoa, this sounds scary. How do I tell if someone's a lizard? We got you. So the first on the list is green eyes.
Oh shit.
Yeah. Lydia's a vampire and a lizard person.
I'm everything all at once.
Actually, no. Okay, the second one kind of discredits you. It's good eyesight or hearing.
Okay.
So you're good.
Yeah.
You're good.
We're out here.
Okay, the next one I find really weird. It's red hair. Having red hair. Which, like, many of the lists that they give... Okay, I'm just going to give something away. The second list that I have of, like, people that might be lizard people, the first person on that list is Barack Obama, which...
Oh, hold on. Hold on.
Green eyes, red hair, I don't know.
He doesn't have either of those.
Yeah. The next one is a sense of not belonging to the human race. So a lot of these are just subjective feelings.
Super subjective. How can you tell that about a person? They're like, you know what? It looks like they have a feeling that they don't belong.
It's like there's a sense of not belonging, specifically to the human race, not just like to their community, to the human race.
Okay.
The next one is unexplained scars on the body.
Do the lizard people know that they're lizard people?
Yes.
Okay, good.
This is not like a vampire situation where
like,
we're all like discovering we're vampires. No.
Yeah, it's just
lizard
strange.
people
That
know.
sense of not belonging is so like it's such a weird thing to throw in there.
Oh, the next one is a love of space. Just they love space. So
they love space.
Honestly,
so
listening to this list, Jeff Bezos is at the top. He's the pinnacle. He has green eyes. He kind of looks like a lizard, to be honest. He kind of looks like a turtle, like a little reptile. He does love space.
I see it.
He has a sense of not belonging to the human race as well.
Does he really? Has he said that in interviews or something?
Just looking at him, like I have the sense that he doesn't belong to the human race.
Right. Completely subjective. Yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
I get that. I totally get that.
All right, and the last one is low blood pressure. So get
random.
out your blood pressure gauges, strap them on to the world's elite. So outside of the list, there's also others that believe that having a smile where the bottom teeth show, and having eyes that change size or eyes with abnormally shaped pupils are potential lizard people tells.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And so smiling without the bottom teeth for the rest of the video.
I feel like that makes you look like more of a lizard. It's like,
no way. I'm trying to cover it.
So yeah, basically these lizard people want world domination. What they will do with it, we don't know. Obviously, the conspiracy theorist thinks it's not good things. That you know, I don't know, kill humans.
Yeah, that's why we're trying to
really
stop the lizard people. They probably have some grand plan, maybe.
And this is kind of
where they just want to rule in peace.
Yeah, maybe they're just like stupid humans. We could do this better. Honestly, they probably could.
I feel like they could too. They would make very objective decisions, you know, because they're not human. Mm-hmm. So they could kind of remove all like emotion or anything and just do what's best.
Yeah.
Maybe that would be good, or maybe it would be terrible.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
So this is kind of where the space comes in. So they're believed to have come from the constellation Draco. So they're basically theorized to be aliens. Wow. And apparently the lizard people have been visiting Earth since ancient times and breeding with humans, which resulted in more lizard people. They're basically hybrids. Between lizards and the human race. So the aliens in ancient times came to Earth, bred with the humans, made these alien hybrids, and those alien hybrids have been with us ever since. Those alien hybrids are called the Babylonian Brotherhood. That is their name, of the hybrids that are ruling the Earth.
Cool. Okay. So none of the original lizards still exist, are still alive. It's only the hybrids. Okay. Gotcha. The Babylonians.
The Babylonians, yeah. And so here's just like another small list of people who are theorized to be lizard people. So first, as we had discussed earlier, Barack Obama, Donald Rumsfeld, don't know who that is.
Okay.
Madonna, Katy Perry, Bill Clinton, which we talked about, Angelina Jolie, and Mick Jagger.
Oh.
I don't know how they would take over the world. I don't really call many of those people like world leaders.
I don't really think
I thought
Katy
they were
Perry is
supposed
a
to be
world
politicians. Why do people hate
Yeah.
Katy Perry so much? Like,
I don't know.
leave her alone. The poor girl.
I don't understand. So, okay, world leaders, I guess, could mean celebrities, since apparently celebrities have more of an impact on
I guess so.
the public.
I guess so.
World leaders, like real world leaders. Interesting.
And this kind of ties into, you know how there's that theory that like world leaders are part of the Illuminati and like they're cannibals and they drink blood. This is all tied into this conspiracy theory. This is all tied into like that the lizards need, you know, like human flesh or human blood to survive.
Oh, okay.
So these all tie into the overarching conspiracy of lizard people.
Cool. So lizard people also run the Illuminati.
Yeah, basically.
That's sick. Good for them. They really like made it to the upper echelon of society.
So there was a giant survey that was done in America in 2013 just about conspiracy theories to see like how many people believed in which conspiracy theories. And 12 million Americans believed that aliens ruled the world. And that was in 2013. And it's estimated to be a bigger number now.
Wow.
So over 12 million Americans believe this.
That's
a
lot of
hefty,
Americans.
hefty amount of people.
Yeah. Wow. Oh my gosh. That's so interesting. Why do people latch on to these theories and ideas so
I'm
much?
actually going to get into that a little bit because
Okay.
this conspiracy, has sparked a lot of interest from psychologists because there are some really like dark sides to this conspiracy.
Yeah, like killing the children and like draining their blood and stuff like that, like that.
But
that part of
also
it?
there's been like acts of hate and terrorism, I would say, in the name of this conspiracy. So
Whoa.
I don't know if you guys remember, but on Christmas Day, there was like an explosion in Tennessee, downtown Tennessee. It injured 3 people, damaged 41 buildings. And the person who set off this explosion actually made claims to the conspiracy theory.
Oh my god. What the hell? So now like, oh god, now ordinary people are just getting like hurt by this conspiracy theory? Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and apparently this man's favorite pastime was going to the park to hunt these aliens. I don't know what that means,
Okay.
but it sounds
scared
weird.
of the park. Yeah. That just doesn't sound uncomfortable. I would just hate to see a grown man by himself at the park.
Just writing notes. I don't really know. Yeah.
Go
Creepy.
home. Yeah.
There's another person who actually murdered his own brother because he thought his brother was a lizard person.
Whoa.
Yeah. So this conspiracy is a little intense. It has its grips on some people, and psychologists are pretty interested in it. But the essence of this conspiracy can actually be traced back to the Industrial Revolution, where people's lives
Everything.
like suddenly went through rapid change. You know, their way of life completely changed. Their work days, like capitalism, money, all these things. So there were a lot of unknowns, and people were kind of unsettled, and they didn't know what to believe anymore, because I guess they went from a time where like religion and maybe superstition kind of closely ruled their lives, and all of a sudden the
money.
capitalist gods came in, you know? So it kind of
Totally.
shifted their world.
Yeah,
So
changed the game.
there's actually many variations of the conspiracy of like shape-shifting reptilian people trying to take over society that, again, can be traced back to the Industrial Revolution. And Dracula, which was written in 1897, is actually one of these.
Really?
Yeah.
I think
So
that Dracula. Whoa.
he had like a lot of reptilian like features and stuff like that in his descriptions, and he used his shape-shifting abilities to try to take over London.
Oh
So it's
my
believed that this
God.
could be like a remnant of this conspiracy theory from like the 1800s.
Whoa, that's so cool. Vampires are lizards.
And it's also been used in some anti-Semitic and anti-immigrant instances where there's a paranoia of people coming into an area, taking all the wealth and power of the area, and therefore like conspiracy theories are born. So yeah, that happens. And we know that's happening in America right now too, where there's a lot of racism, fear of outsiders and stuff like that. So it's kind of like the perfect storm for intense conspiracies to be grown. And just like a side note, it's actually theorized by a lot of people that Dracula is anti-Semitic.
Okay. Dracula's a real person now?
Just something no, like
So random. Like the character?
No. The book Dracula was like a metaphor or symbolic of anti-Semitism.
Oh my goodness.
Of like this fear of
so
outsiders, of somebody like taking over,
right.
taking wealth. Because
And
there's a
it's
big
just
fear of like
easier
Jews
to
in
like
that time.
condemn them and to hate them if they're not even human, right? Like it's just
Yeah.
so, let's just dehumanize them and then it's easier to hate them. Mm-hmm. That's so fucked.
So history shows that when panic is rising and institutions are failing, and the masses feel betrayed by the wealthy elites, that people start creating scapegoats, which is often what these conspiracies are born out of. And psychologists explain that people use these conspiracies to try to regain a sense of control. That they're like a way for people to try to understand what's going on in their life. which makes sense.
Yeah, some sort of an explanation. I look for that too. Like sometimes like stuff goes crazy in my life and I'm like, oh, it's probably because I got bangs. And like obviously it's not. But I just am like, when did this all start? And like who can I blame it on? That like isn't
it makes you
like,
feel better when you come up with a reason. Even if you know it's the wrong reason, you're like, I feel better.
Yeah.
Solve that mystery.
Solve that one. You're just lying to yourself.
And now this might be very controversial, but also might be a stretch, but I also think that religion is kind of this as well.
How? The lizard?
No, religion is kind of like, maybe conspiracy theory is too much, but it's kind of like a scapegoat, because religion was born in a time when we didn't have a lot of answers to like why people died suddenly and like why the weather changed and why there were dry seasons and stuff like that. So it was probably easier to believe that there was some force out there controlling all these things and making this happen than just being like, meh, some things we'll never know. So
yeah, definitely. People were looking for answers and they found them from the church. Yeah. And the church had all the answers too, you know? People were like obsessed with the church. They thought that was the only place because like they were getting all their answers from God. So it was like, what does the church have to say about this?
So yeah, that's the biggest conspiracy of them all. That there's a big man in the sky.
Yeah, I think it was completely born out of fear. Fear of death as well, of course.
Yeah, fear of the unknown. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so people who are open-minded or people who are naturally suspicious are normally the most kind of susceptible to falling into conspiracies. And as probably all of us know, it can be really hard to like derail somebody who's into a conspiracy. Because it's not necessarily based on like fact or reason. So you can like give them the facts, but it's not based on that.
When you're in that deep, like you have already spun a web and you have already created a narrative within the conspiracy theory, devaluing any real facts or any like actual evidence that we might have as non-believers into like why we're not correct. You know what I mean? Like they have their own story. They have everything that they
have their like rebuttal points to like every fact that there is.
Yeah, exactly. And if not, then they're like, well, I'm the stronger one in society because I think about things. And then they just call you stupid.
And then some people actually believe that it's the lack of logic and reason and like the kind of hazy parts that build a conspiracy, because people believe that it's not that there's a lack of reason or facts, but it's that there's like a cover-up going on. So if you're trying to point out that like this isn't logical, people are like, yeah, that's because that information's being covered up. That's because they don't want you to know. So that's kind of like the allure of conspiracies, because then you can't argue them either, because, you know,
you don't know either.
Like, your facts are wrong. It's a cover-up. And then,
That's so true. Wow. Some things we'll never know. It's because it's being covered up by the government.
Yes.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
And then also in times in your life when you're confronted with like big decisions and unclear decisions. So an example that they had was like during the measles outbreak. Parents were like faced with the decision of vaccinating their kids or not. And it was like a really scary time for parents, because they're trying to figure out like how to be a good parent. And they're getting a lot of like mixed information of like, my kid could die from measles, but my kid could die from the vaccine.
Sounds rough.
So sometimes your mind in those situations aren't necessarily open to like the reasonable or logical option, but rather they're gravitated more to the option that presents them with the best feeling of like control over the situation. And that's most often conspiracies, because conspiracies don't have to wait for like the science or like the reason or whatever. They can just make the most illogical answers to everything that they want to. So it can make people feel better, because there's more answers in conspiracy than there is in actual fact.
Yeah.
So people get pulled in.
They do get pulled in.
Yeah, and that's basically how people get pulled into conspiracy theories, and that's how these conspiracies kind of grow and become monsters, and then people, you know, take over the U.S. Capitol, blow people up, kill their own brothers in the name of these conspiracies. And it's just really because they're afraid and unsettled.
Damn.
Sorry to end that on a really low note. That was a really quick portion. My apologies on that as well.
Okay. No, it's totally fine. Wow. Oh my God. I feel like people are so much more susceptible to conspiracy theories today too than maybe they were in the past. I don't know. Maybe it's just because there is more conspiracies available to anybody for almost any reason at any time, you know, because of the internet. But it just, I feel like people used to have it so much simpler.
Yeah.
And it was just, you just had your beliefs
I
and
also
you were just
feel like
ignorant to anything else.
Old conspiracies were more like myths and like folklore. They weren't necessarily about like people, but they were about like, I don't know, fairies, mythical beings, you know? Like I feel like that used to be conspiracy theories, but now that we're in this age where like people are kind of growing away from like maybe religious beliefs or like spiritual beliefs, they need something else to like fuel the conspiracies. So I think that those like folklores are now turning into conspiracy theories about just like human beings. Does that make sense?
Yeah, kind of.
Instead of being like the fairies did it, we can be like the president did it, you know?
Right.
It's like a different scapegoat.
Yeah. And I guess it feels a little bit more concrete maybe, and it's like easier to believe because there is so much information out there. God, information will be the death of us all. It's just too much. Have you ever seen the videos of like celebrities' eyes turning into lizard eyes?
No.
I used to watch those. I watched one of Miley Cyrus, like her eyes, like she was doing this interview, and then like for a hot second, her eyes like her pupils turned into slits, into like straight pupils, and they were like, proof that she is a fucking lizard person. They were like, this is not photoshopped.
Well, the fact that you had to start with that fact makes me question it a little bit.
Interesting. Is it now?
All right, guys, that brings us to the end of the podcast. It was a little bit shorter this week. So with your extra time that you have, I challenge you to find us on TikTok and to please
leave us
help
some
us.
positivity.
Help us. You have some extra time, and you do have some extra time because this podcast episode is shorter. Go do that. Go help us. We would appreciate it.
We would really appreciate that. That would be really nice. We need some positivity on there. One person left us positivity, which was sick, but you know, it's like,
we need some
you
more.
know, yeah, it would be nice to feel like we are liked, you know.
It was funny
coming across as assholes.
Yeah, it was the TikTok thing was funny that you guys couldn't find us on TikTok. I really love that bit. That was a good joke, but you can do it.
Good.
You can find us now.
You can do it, guys. We are very unimportant people podcast. There's a hint for you.
Anyways, you can also head over to our Instagram. You can let us know what you think about the panspermia? Panspermia theory. And you can also let us know if you think that lizards rule the planet. Lizard people rule the planet. And also let us know what you think lizards will do when they achieve world domination. Because that was the big question mark in this theory, is why are we so afraid of this?
It could be totally fine.
Could be fine. They could be
They
good
are
people.
already in positions of power.
You know what, though?
Allegedly. And it went okay, right?
But some of these people aren't good people. You know, maybe that's where the fear comes from.
Yeah.
You know what, though?
Like
They're
taking
also,
advantage
like,
of
most of them
humans?
are okay people. Most of them are, like, liberals.
Like Madonna is fine.
Yeah, Madonna never did anything.
No,
Angelina Jolie, like, I think she's fine.
Totally fine. I don't understand.
So, yeah, let
are
us
we
know what you
freaking
think is going to happen when they achieve world domination. Our Instagram is very.unimportant.people. You can shoot us an email if you want. If you're old-fashioned, that's cool. We're hatersclickhere@gmail.com, and that's HATRS, clickhere@gmail.com. Where else are we? You can find us on Twitter, The Unimportant PPL.
Yes.
And we're on Patreon. Just going to put that in there. We're still there.
Yeah, we are on Patreon. We're still posting really good stuff, too.
Yeah, and you can
whenever
not
you
find us on
feel like
Patreon, but you can find our Patreon on our Instagram. That's another little scavenger hunt for you guys.
Our link
Find the Patreon. Let us know when you find it. Yeah, that's it for us this week. I hope you guys have a great